Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Tuesday, the 27th of February. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which has becalmed just under the 7,700 level. We're on the positive side. We are above the rising 50-day line. We're above RSI 50 at 55, so that does suggest we're in a holding pattern ahead of a new move to the upside. If we do break to the upside, then 78.30, the top of that rising August trend channel is the target. End of day close back below the 50-day line, 76.30, risks another retest of the 200-day line at 75.45, but even that is starting to flatten out and head higher. Moving along to the DAX, and here are rather more dynamic picture than the FTSE. We're building on the gap high we had on Thursday, which is building on the previous one. So normally gaps come in threes, a bit like London buses, and so we're looking for this market to gap up towards the September resistance line there, 17,700. Best case would be up to as high as 18,400 by the end of next month, while we stay above the initial February resistance there at 17,200. If we do break down, the worst we're expecting is basically the 50-day line there at 16,900, but hopefully there's another gap on its way. Moving on to the Dow, and here the stellar moves have been, obviously very impressive within that rising October trend channel. A bit of a hiccup yesterday, but at the moment, while we're above the floor of the rising October trend channel, 38,600, we're still looking for a target through not only 40,000 but even 41,000 as soon as the end of next month. Obviously, it looks as though we've come up, too far over the near term, but at least while we're above that price channel floor, and we are looking for further gains on this market. If you're fussy, probably 39,000 and an end of day close back below that could be a sign there's a little bit of a dip back towards the 38,000 area. Moving on to Bitcoin, which is the star of the show by quite some margin, and here you can see that we've blown through the top of that rising trend channel from August, which is obviously very satisfying indeed. That was around the 54,000 level. Previously suggested that a break of 53,000 could take us up to 60,000 by the end of next month. It looks as though the market is trying to do that, perhaps even as soon as the end of this month. But anyway, 60,000 plus by the end of next month, while we're above now the initial February resistance, or the last February resistance, at 53,000. Moving on to gold, which is not going to be as spectacular as that, obviously, but here, still trying to get through that December resistance line there, 2055 at the nominal level there. After that, we could then head up to 2100, and hopefully by the end of next month, up to 2180, although it has to be said that given how slow the price action is here, one might have to delay the upside there till the end of April rather than the end of March. On the downside, the floor of that rising trend channel from back in March 1995 should hopefully be support, and we've got the 200-day line 1982 just behind it. On to the stocks, and the obvious winner in terms of read-across benefit would be Argo blockchain from the rise in Bitcoin, and we were already suspecting that this market was going to turn higher from below the 20 pence level. I think sort of 17, 18, that kind of thing. The reason is that we had the unfilled gap to the upside back in the early part of this month, and we've held the top of that gap there at 16 pence and the floor of that rising trend channel from December. Ever since, above the 50-day line now at about 18.5, looking for an initial move there to 27 pence and the top of that January gap there. Overall here, looking for a rather unlikely sounding 40 pence, maybe by the end of next month if we get the new records for Bitcoin, etc., etc. On to Ensilica, which has managed to keep going after the newspaper tip over the weekend. Unfilled gap to the upside through the 200-day line. We've broken the gap up day there at the high there around 67 pence. And basically, while we're above today's support, 65, looking for up to 82 pence over the next week or two at the top of that broadening triangle from back in April. GSTechnologies is next, and here trying to make some positive moves. The plus points here at the moment are already the way that shares have bounced above the 200-day line. We're pushing through the 50-day moving average once again. and that's around 1.2 pence. But perhaps we need to break a line of resistance that I'm just about to draw now. They're around 1.3 pence on an end-of-day close basis to open up a retest of the 2 pence area in the top of that rising trend channel from April last year. Hornby's interesting in the sense that yesterday I was heckled regarding the performance of the stock, which is perhaps wasn't a great idea given the way that it's actually been a winning call rather than a losing call. It's probably better to get heckled or trolled on losing situations. The initial target here was 24 pence and the second target 36. Above 36 pence on an end of day close basis, we're looking for 45 pence, and hopefully that'll happen well before the end of next month, given the speed of the move. Ideally, we stay on the right side of 30 pence in the meantime, which was the initial 2023 resistance. Onto a stock which I haven't looked at for ages, which is Itim Group, and just really highlighting this on the basis that we had an unfilled gap to the upside through the bear trap gap reversal through the or from the 200-day moving average. Looks as though the top of the channel there is up to 55 or 56 pence, but I'm guessing that that's not really a stock that people want to punt in unless they're already in it or they can get a very good price. On to Itaconix, which actually gets a disproportionate amount of coverage here. Another bear trap gap reversal with the December new lows and then the gap higher. The view at the moment is that above the November resistance at £1.51, we could be looking at at least initially, for the share to go back to 208, which was the August resistance, and best case would be up to an unlikely sounding 235 at the top of that broadening triangle from July. But the key here is really holding above the recent resistance around £1.51. If you're a bit cautious, you wait for an end of day close through the 200-day line there at 165 before assuming the glories of £2 plus are on their way. On to Kefi, which was discussed here before it broke out, but we've had a beautiful breakout yesterday through the 0.75 pence area, which was the sticky area. Above 0.75, we're looking for progress within the rising September trend channel up to 105 as soon as the end of next month, although it has to be said, most spikes higher in Kefi have been sold into either a day, well, most normally a day or two after. You can see those spikes there didn't last more than a day or two. So let's just have that 0.75 pence level as the notional stop loss. Moving on to Longboat, and here we've got a potential break higher. Both the 50 and 200-day lines are rising. We've broken the July resistance line there at 20 pence, and above that we're looking for as high as 37 pence by the end of the next month. Punchy call, given that we've been in consolidation mode for months, but I'm assuming that with those 50 and 200-day lines rising, we are heading into a golden cross and a decent push higher. Onto Minoan, which has actually managed to recover after breaking through its recent January resistance around 0.73. Above that, we're looking for 1.1 pence, perhaps as soon as the end of next month, and in what would be a rather unlikely move to the upside. But we have had a sideways shuffle above a rising 50-day line, and all it would take now is an end-of-day close through 0.83 and existing February resistance to give us a decent V-shaped or U-shaped bull flag breakout. I was suggesting a few days ago that Mosman looked as though it's ready to rally a bit. Seems very unlikely, but we've got that sideways shuffle along a rising 50-day line, and as you can see there by the close-up, and above that 50-day line at 0.14, looking for up to 0.3 as soon as the end of next month. Onto McBride, which is normally was rather larger market cap than we normally look at, but here you can see that the shares have delivered very good charting information. We gapped through the 50-day line back there in July. We gapped through the 50-day line again back in October, and both were followed by strong rallies. And we've just gapped through the 50-day line today at 78 pence. So one would be assuming that we'll have the same kind of magic up to £1.10 as soon as the end of next month, while we remain above that 50-day line. On the beach is next, tying up with Ryanair, which is obviously very exciting. Here we've got a rising trend channel from back in March, and the top of the channel there, heading up to £2.10. We're looking for that maybe as soon as the end of next month. possibly up to April, but an end of day close through the 50-day line, £1.57, could be at least the start of a retest of the December resistance of 180, if only on the basis that the Ryanair deal was not on the map back in December. Stop loss here back below the floor of the channel there, around £1.41. On to the last few. First one is Optibiotix, which came up with a decent update today. Here we've got a situation where we're looking for the shares to break that July resistance line. That's around 26.5 pence. Above that, we could see the shares head up to 45 pence, maybe by the end of April, but we would like to see the shares remain on the right side of the 200-day line at 22 pence in the meantime. Overall, this looks like a sideways consolidation ahead of a new leg to the upside. Going on to Powerhouse Energy, which has been flagged here quite a few times, and here we managed to, last week we managed to hit our 0.55 target, 0.56 target. It's now 0.56, above that on an end of day close basis, looking for the shares to easily fill the gap there up to 0.78 from back in August by the end of next month. But the key here, holding above that 0.55, well, the initial 0.55 peak, and staying above 0.56. Finishing off with Scirocco, which I haven't looked at for a bit, and here got a rather strange looking chart. Broke that line of resistance there from back in August. Above that at 0.3 in the rising 50-day line, we're looking for a minimum of 0.48 and that October resistance line projection. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.